everything is happening so fast and so quickly now under the Trump administration that the rules are changing as we speak. Just today, we find out that CNN and others are going to be having huge layoffs in various divisions because of the fact that everything is changing drastically. It is being reported that new cancer, who was this, Ellison? New cancer forms of vaccines are being looked at via AI. And you're going to be asked whether you will be a part of that. I can only imagine what you're going to say about this. So all of this is going on, and we're unable to catch up with this. Let me explain something that is happening now, which is really difficult for me to explain, but I'm going to do my best. Let me take you through this very quickly. Do you believe that had the folks, the shadow government, the usual suspects, had they wanted Hillary to win, do you believe that Hillary would have won in 2016 had they wanted her to win? Do you believe so? I do. Had those people wanted her to win, she would have won the same way they fixed it for Biden in 2020. You know, and I know what happened with that. You and I know what happened, okay? So follow me with this. So they wanted Trump to be president in 2016. You got that? Good. And the reason why it was simple. They wanted 4 years of Trump so that the left would have been absolutely frothing over the notion of him. They would have gone crazy over the notion of Donald Trump. Crazy. Okay. After Donald Trump was involved, lo and behold, we had after that Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden was not a president. Joe Biden was kind of the titular theoretical president, but he really wasn't doing anything. So we went through 4 years of him. The left and the country would not have tolerated him for a moment had there not been 4 years of Donald Trump. You following this? And the reason why is they want to make you absolutely nuts so that all of these changes, because remember, when Joe Biden came along, anything he suggested, people said, great, that's great. Well, we have a transgender, that's terrific. Well, we're going to have a gay, it's great, terrific, wait, whatever you want, because there's no Trump. Yes, we're so glad we're so anti-Trump. And we sat back and we didn't know what to do. We couldn't believe it. And believe it or not, the country couldn't believe it. The country couldn't believe it. Well, now Trump's back. And it's the opposite effect. And everything that they want to have, everything that you could tolerate, or that the country could tolerate before January the 20th, before November the 5th, really, it's a different story now. Now this stuff is people are going crazy. I was talking on good authority to somebody who lives in the LA area, and they are so sick of what's happening. I put out a newsletter today. Whatever it's called. I hate that word, newsletter, but you know what I'm talking about, an email. And it dealt with the issue and a brand new video. Hope you're subscribed to Lionel Nation, but it's the fact that Kamala and Doug are on the outs. And this lunatic actually is not thinking about running for governor of California. She wants to run for president again and thinks she can do it and wants to give him the heave-ho because she thinks he just ruined everything with his assault charges. I mean, this is insanity. This is insanity. So let her think that that's fine. So now, moving to right now, today, January 22nd, 2025, 2 days after the inauguration, we're seeing things right now that we cannot possibly comprehend in terms of how horrible it is. And we had this lunatic, this Budde, I call her Budde, the high priestess of woke, who came out with this absolute insanity the other day and made our president sit through it. If you missed it, this is the Episcopal bishop for this area, and they should have their tax-exempt status removed immediately. Remove it immediately. This is not a clerical version or whatever it is. This is nothing but sheer political, naked politics from this thing. Her name is Edgar Budde, Mariann Edgar Budde, or as Kellyanne Maganin, and they called her Bude or something. Didn't even look up her name as Budde, B-U-D-D-E, Budde. He's my buddy. And I looked, and when I saw her, I thought to myself, she looks like a lesbian. And not from somebody from Portugal. That's what I thought. Had the hair and the whole bit. Well, it turns out she's married. She's got a couple of sons. And one of them, apparently, is some radical lefty who works with a Soros group or something, as you can imagine. So she's an Episcopal bishop. And what are Episcopals? I have no idea. What are they, Catholic light? I have no idea who these people are. Well, this was what she did the other day. And watch the disrespect that this thing, this high woke princess, this lunatic, this deranged bishop troll. Watch what she did.
Let me make one final plea.
Yeah, I got your
Mr.
plea.
President.
Yeah.
Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God.
Listen to this.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
Scared of what?
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families.
And you're scared of what?
Some who fear for their lives.
Why?
And the people who pick our crops
What?
and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
Now, by the way, I don't know if you can see this. You got to look at, even Usher's giving her like the little bit of a stink eye, like, what the hell is she talking about? Melania is just doing nothing but like laser looks through her. Eric looks a little food. He doesn't know what's going on. Listen to this disrespect. This is a national prayer service. Instead of saying, way to go, have a good day, look what this thing involves.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes.
We're not talking about immigrants. We're talking about people who violate the laws and enter our country illegally. Thus, ipso facto, honey, they're a criminal.
And our good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
And let me explain this to you. If you come here to this country and you break the law, You go back and you take your children with you. That's it. Go back and take your children with you, provided they are your children. If you're driving and pulled over for DWI and you are arrested and you have children in your car with you, they take your children and they place them with a loved one or maybe some type of foster care in the meantime, but you don't not get arrested because there's a child there. That's what you should have thought about. So look at Trump. He's looking at her like, who is this?
And that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands.
Like Venezuela, like Tren de Aragua, like the one who killed Lake and Riley. Is that what you want? What is she talking about?
To find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger.
I can't take this. I can't even be merciful to her. Okay, so this is where we started off. Now let me explain to you what happened. Let me remind you of something. This is very important. In the old days, prior to this new resurgence, this new form of this MAGA Trumpism, in the old days we would have said, now it's like, you idiot. The country is fuming at you, loathing you, hating, not you perhaps, but what you were saying. Because they've lived in this world, my friend, where they said, everybody thinks this. No, they don't. You don't understand what you're doing. Keep talking. You don't know what year this is. You don't know what decade this is. You don't know what you're saying. You literally have no idea. They think it's 2020 or something. I don't know. She doesn't know. She thinks this is cool. Right now, people are saying, hello, Holman, yeah, pick them up. It's a different world. It will be like her getting up and talking about letting men compete in, sports against women. Now, listen very carefully to this. This goes to show you, this is why CNN is just cratering. A little bit of this. Listen to this nincompoop, Erin, whatever her name is.
And
now listen to this. This woman is so, you could tell. By the way, check out, I don't know who this looks like, Henry Gibson or something. You know who it looks like, believe it or not. That weird kid who did the butler, doesn't he? He, she, whatever, Budde here. Listen to Erin, what's her name? Erin Andrews or whatever her name is. Is it Erin Andrews? Huh? Erin Burnett. I don't even know her goddamn name. I don't watch this show. Listen to what she says.
Bishop, I appreciate your time. And
her time, she's milking this for everything it's worth.
And your tone there, so
your tone. She's loved the tone. She loves the tone. I love the tone. I don't know what you said, but your tone.
So serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but
he's stone-faced, he's just listening.
Listening to every word you say. As you made that personal plea to him, what were you looking at him in that moment?
What's wrong with what they're looking at? Eric looks stultified. But what is he doing? He didn't do anything. No disrespect. No nothing. This is this Erin Burnett, who, by the way, soon will have her show shelved. Was it CNN at 100? Hundreds are leaving CNN. It's over. NBC, another thing too, they're going to be moving things around. This is over. The head of CNN told everybody, don't give us your personal opinions. This dingbat, this Erin lady, doesn't understand it's over. And they don't understand that when Americans sees this thing, that they think, who is this? This is this phony baloney Episcopal bishop who is basically this deranged high priestess of the woke lunacy troop.
What kind of response were you perhaps hoping for in that moment?
What's that breathing? Wow.
I was looking at the president because I was speaking directly to him. I was also, frankly, as you do in every sermon, speaking to everyone who was listening through that one-on-one conversation with the president, reminding us all that in the people that are frightened in our country, the two groups of people that I mentioned are our fellow human beings, and that they have been portrayed in all throughout the political campaign in the harshest of lights.
Now let's stop right there. She is full of shite. They have not been portrayed in the harshest of light. We love immigrants. Look around you. Where have you been? This is what they've done. And America said, stop it. You can't go on this stupid fakakta show, this CNN ridiculous, this nonsense, and portray this parallel universe and this reality that doesn't exist. Do you understand what we're saying? K2 says, Sister Mary Elephant from Cheech and Chong, perhaps. DS says she is at least Christian, but remember, Catholics can always go to confession if needed, but grace is the biggest gift. Don't know what that means, but thank you. DS says we obviously won overwhelming. Grace is needed. I don't know what that means, but thank you. I don't know what grace is. I don't know what that means. What the hell does that have to do with this? I know Conrad's got something to say. Conrad, thank you for your super sticker. So what this wingnut decides, this jackwagon, she decides to go on the worst show ever because remember, the thing they told her to do is whatever you're doing, listen, let's assume I'm somebody whom she is theoretically trying to represent. The thing I would say to her is whatever you do, don't hurt our cause. Don't hurt our cause. Please don't hurt our cause. What do you mean? Don't go on shows that people hate. Because when you do this, it doesn't help our cause. What do you mean? People don't like us. So you may get a kick out of this, but like Hippocrates said, whatever you do at first, do no harm. Don't go on a show everybody hates. Don't go on a show and don't talk to anybody who is the most vilified, horrible cur, the most horrible, rancid, fetid, suppurating Xanthippe. Do not go on this shrew, the most vile pustule known in mankind. Please don't go. Don't let her agree with your cause because that will hurt us. So what did she do?
So let me ask you this. You seem to have more fearlessness than anyone in Congress right now, ma'am.
No, everybody in Congress? What about the Democrats? Listen.
What made you decide to use that opportunity for this message, or didn't you have any apprehension about it?
What made you, remember, now think about this. Right now, people are picking up the phone and saying, Joy Behar's for her? Yeah. Holman, pick her up. Pick her up. What are you doing? Why are you going on this show? Do you know what this is? This is how tone deaf. She's a celebrity, like an addict. I'm trying to be nice. She loves this moment. She's been this insignificant nothing. But in her world, she's now meeting with the Herodin in chief.
My response, thank you, first of all, for allowing me to be with you today. My responsibility that morning, yesterday morning, was to reflect, to pray with the nation for unity. And as I was pondering what are the foundations of unity,
That's not what you're supposed to do.
I wanted to emphasize respecting the honor and dignity of every human being, basic honesty and humility.
That's
and
not
then
what
I
you're
also
supposed
realized
to
that
do.
that that unity requires a certain degree of mercy, mercy and compassion and understanding. And so knowing that a lot of people, as I said, in our country right now are really scared.
And you know why they're scared? Because they're here illegally. Now here's another one who gets her shot at a bite at the apple with this thing here.
And leave, as they say, leave the rest to God.
Bishop, predictably, you seem to strike a nerve. President Trump initially said yesterday it was, quote, not a good service, unquote. But overnight, he took to social media to say you were a, quote, radical left, hardline Trump hater, unquote, that you brought the church into politics and that you owe your church and the public an apology.
Absolutely.
Now, given your role, it doesn't seem surprising that you would speak out for the marginalized, as anyone who's read the Bible and knows the path of Jesus. But do you think your message is being misconstrued?
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's?
Construed and politicized.
She's really slow in the uptake. This is not a very bright woman. She takes these long pauses. She's really not sure. What she did was to promote her own name.
Well, sure. Yeah. But I think if you read what I said, and I mean, how could it not be politicized, right? We're in a hyper-political climate.
Okay, let me stop this nonsense. Here is the bottom line. This is the chance for this thing to speak to a nation as this new president takes the helm. Imagine this. I'm asked to speak before a school football game, whether it's the Eagles or whatever. And the Eagles, as you know, the Eagles who are a part of we're going to be almost in the playoffs. And when you think of the Eagles, think of these words from the mayor of Philadelphia.
Hear you all say, E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
I think that's an Elgsis. Then you may say eagle from the Roman Aquila for Aquilinos, no, Exiles. But when you speak, you normally get up and you tell people, listen, this is a chance for us to enjoy competition. You don't talk about, and this game that has resulted in more chronic traumatic encephalopathy and brain damage, steroids, betting. Wait a minute. That's not, no, my role was to address, no, that's not your role. It's unity. It's to let everybody say, Mr. President, this year we pray for you to do the best you can. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Let's go out, do the best you can. And that's it. That's what they always do. Not this one. Not this one. Oh, no. She's different. She's a lefty, woke, radical loon who wants to get her dig in so that she'll say, am I going to get more speaking engagement? No, because she just turned people off to the entire concept of it. Diaz says, come on, give grace and drag the marginalized or diaspora communities up with us. It is the American thing to do. All boats rise with tides. What are you talking about? Drag the marginalized or diaspora. Nobody. The only people who are in a diaspora are the illegal folks invading our sovereignty. Do you think that we're going to give grace to people who are breaking into our, number one, that's breaking into our country. But do you think this is the way to do it? Of course not. You don't mean that. Nobody means that. She has done more to harm herself than anybody else. Let me tell you what this wingnut said in 2020 when St. John's, this incredible, beautiful church, which has been the home of every American president who has attended since 1816 with James Madison. And it was torched by Black Lives Matter, BLM, and Antifa folks. Listen to what this dingbat said with her grace.
We are upset about the fire as well, but that is not our primary focus. Our primary focus is the reason behind, the fundamental reasons behind the protests in our country right now.
Do you hear what she says? I'm not worried about the fire. I'm not worried about the fire. If somebody comes and torches your house, I'm not worried about that. I want to know why they did it. See, I want to know why they did it. I got your grace right here. How about that grace? How about people are watching this beautiful, the tabernacle of God, that she is the bishop of it? He goes, no, I want to find out. If somebody would be pulled from a car and beaten into unconsciousness, would you likewise wonder? I wonder what it was. And you know that what she's going to do is she's going to bring the biggest con ever, this George Floyd nonsense, this crack, this drug-addled thug, this thug that caused, will be all of a sudden, through some weird apotheosis, this deification, elevated this thug, this criminal, this absolute vermin who died most probably of a drug overdose. But she's going to bring him up too, because for her, well, that's God Almighty.
There is a deep desire for the fundamental issues at stake, brought to light by the murderous death of...
The murderous death. Not just the death. Not just the murder, as you think, but the murderous death. Redundant? I think so. Look at that look she's looking at right now. That is the eye of Satan.
George Floyd and the countless others that we've witnessed in this long string of violence against Black and brown people, that needs to be addressed in a systemic, fundamental way in the from every police department in the country and the vigilante civilian actions that are taken.
The vigilante civilian actions that were taken in torching your church. Your church.
The gospel of Jesus and the teachings of the scripture are antithetical to the messages that he is communicating and the way he's responding to people in this moment.
This is the most incredible thing. What did he have to do with George Floyd? Nothing. Listen to this. Pay attention to this. I can't say this. This lunacy, this absolute lunacy, doesn't make sense anymore. It has no audience anymore. They're making the biggest mistake possible. They're making the biggest mistake ever. This does not have a place anymore in our world. We have summarily rejected this. And this was in 2020, but this dingbat doesn't understand it's a new world right now. Listen to this.
And that there is no spiritual mantle of authority for the actions that he had just moments before said that he would take.
What is she talking about? She's look at this Judy Woodruff. This thing. This is, pack it in, Judy. It's over with. Seriously, it's over with. Go home, girl. You've done enough. You've been around a long time. Bless your heart. Give it up. Just give it up, Judy.
You told the Washington Post yesterday, and I'm quoting, everything this president has said and done is to inflame violence.
Inflame as in the flames that torched this beautiful church, which you've never mentioned once. Like maybe, I don't know, providing perhaps a reward or asking for volunteers to come help and clean this up. Who's going to pay for this? How do you replace a piece of treasure? And you being the superintendent, so to speak of the church, you haven't mentioned once about the horror that is the defacing. If somebody had spray painted swastikas on let's say a Jewish temple, would you say, we must look at why they do this? If somebody were to have planted a burning cross, if somebody would have made some joke as to the death of George Floyd, but somebody were, let's say, to burn a cross in front of the NAACP headquarters, heinous, absolutely heinous. What if I said, we must look at the reason before that? What are the underlying causes? You would say you're out of your mind. The left, who goes crazy over this ridiculous fakakta nonsense. I don't know, I sound like Jackie Mason. This Nazi salute, which never happened. This punctilious, absolutely, this lunatic. Look at this. But when it comes to burning a church, she wants to know why. Remember, this was 5 years ago. Today, we hate this. She's cutting her own, figuratively, her own throat.
We need moral leadership, and he's done everything to divide us. Is there any way to begin to heal this breach that you're describing?
Well, we see examples of people attempting that across the country.
Black people on their knees, with masks, of course. Black people on their knees. Be honest with you, I don't think that's a good look in view of what happened to Floyd and how people claim he was dispatched. Being on the knee, I never understood that imagery. And by the way, check out the one in the middle. How far do you think this cop could run without having a cardiac arrest?
The police officials and officers who are moving into the crowds to speak to them.
Oh, look at these people crying over this fight. They lost our national thug, George Floyd. We hardly knew ye. Oh, who, by the way, gave rise to I Can't Breathe. And one of the interesting things about that is if you can say I can't breathe, you can breathe.
The people who are acknowledging pain and seeking to make fundamental change for the good of the nation. And
what about the crimes that were committed by this thug? Johnny Mazespaz says, who approved of that woman to speak? You're fired. Well, I think it's a tradition. Here comes Mr. Grace. Diaz says, that's not the people. Diaspora communities are analogous to the Jewish. Liquidity is king. Not about immigration. It's about leveraging the dollar and almost the TJCA properly to keep our multiples. I have no idea what you're talking about, but thank you. Wicked Felina says, torching St. John's and trying to storm the White House and mow down Trump is an insurrection. Bishop Sweet Cheeks Mariann with no coconut pie. Wicked Felina, thank you very much. I like your style. Linda Haslett says, there have been a lot of hateful lefties. Very happy. There have been a lot of hateful lefties. Very happy. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Nelson A says, I cannot take her voice covering her ears. What a hypocrite, she says. Her 50 minutes of fame. Who pays her salary? My goodness, Mr. L. My goodness, indeed. Yes. And this one, too. This was probably one of her best moments.
To have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Mm-hmm. Some who fear for their lives.
I don't know why.
And the people who pick our crops.
This is the most relegating. This is the best part. This is what this numbnuts doesn't even understand. Think about what she's saying. I don't give a diddly damn about them, but by God, they pick our crops. They're crop masters. I want our people who clean our dishes, to clean our toilets. I don't give a diddly damn about them, but who's going to pick our crops? Think about what she's saying. It's that economic part. That's what she's worried about.
And clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants.
Labor in poultry farms. Not anybody who is the poets, the writers, the mothers, but people who work in poultry farms. The Purdue folks. People who clean the slop and the shite and clean the encrusted bodily humors and waste from the bathrooms of men's rooms all over. I mean, just imagine people say, is that what they think we do? Yes, Pedrito. That's it. That's it. She's upset because who's going to pick her crops and clean her chicken innards?
Who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals.
These people they don't do any. All I'm worried about is what are we going to do with all that free Louis? And in New York, who deliver our pizza? People from Grubhub and people from DoorDash. Listen to this. This is what she's upset about. She's upset about who's going to make up the workload.
They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation.
I don't know if that's. Do you think they altered this photo somehow? Do you think they altered it?
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
No. Yes, they are. We're not talking about immigrants. And Therese Pollard says, blah, 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 blah. Judas Gold Barbecue says she essentially excuses violence so long as it's for the right reasons, which goes against what Jesus says in the Gospels. She needs to reread that. She also shows the bigotry of low expectations. Judas, thank you. Interesting, your name. She shows, though, a group of people who just doesn't seem to get it. Here she is a while back. I forget what this was. She was, I think it was a George Floyd moment. Here's numbnuts again.
It is a message of a call for justice, for swift justice for George Floyd.
When I see that mask, a part of me just absolutely just dies. It's a sign of you're a mask hole. Look at her. She's wearing her little, she's a bishop. George Floyd, she lives and dies for George Floyd.
Why did you want to come out here and send their message? It is a message of a call for justice, for swift justice for George Floyd, for systemic justice for all brown.
She loves the word systemic.
And black people who have been under the knee.
Black people, brown people, people of color, Sepian, Negroid, black, soul brothers, African Americans, Afrikaners. She's trying to get every label she can. Queers and LGBTQIA plus, sin bin binary non-traditional. She's got every, because remember, in order to speak this particular rhetoric, you must know all of the lingo. Oops, hang on a minute. Linda says, been lots of happy lefties out there. Happy, sad, indeed.
Of this country in ways that we have witnessed time and again. This is wrong.
Wrong.
And this rising up, this spontaneous uprising of people mostly.
Look at the guy behind me, because Kente Clothon. He's feeling this because of George Floyd. George Floyd. Not people who have made a contribution, but this thug named George Floyd. I've never understood that. By the way, you think those signs are coming down? You think they're coming down? I think maybe perhaps. So what we're seeing right now, my friends, is again this new form of America. How about Mr. Scott Jennings, ladies and gentlemen?
This is here playing out in church. What do you think, Scott?
These woke-scapalians or Episcopokians or whatever they're calling themselves today, this is ridiculous. This was terrible.
Good.
Donald Trump, I'm sure, regrets participating in this event today to be lectured to and politicized in a church this way.
Who's coughing like that?
And I thought it was, frankly, a disgrace to what they did at this event. I don't know if this event will happen ever again because of this. This particular bishop took it upon herself to turn this into a complete and total circus and spectacle. And I don't know any Republican today who's like, oh, wow.
Well, it was a very really long service, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that insight. Ladies and gentlemen, more cognitive disjunction here. Thank you. What is the Trump's biggest bill? 17. Come on. Okay, I don't know. Tax cuts and job acts, 2017. I got to tell you something, DS. Normally, and I thank you for being a part of this, but normally when you write something, there's a rule. And the best rule is to write something where people don't say, what? Huh? Look, let me explain to you what's going on here. It's over. Before Trump, we would have listened to it and said, well, I don't know, George Floyd. Almost like a sense of resignation. You never said? Remember how you felt years ago? It's like, well, what are you going to do? They keep bringing up this bullshit with George Floyd. Remember when they wore kente cloths and they were kneeling down, except for Jerry Nadler? Everybody was taking a knee. And we just sat there and we say, well, what are you going to do? Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. They didn't like our flag. Where's Colin Kaepernick now? I don't know. And we waited. And we waited. And we waited. You understand this? And we waited. And we waited. And then all of a sudden it came back. Reality. We're back. We're back in the saddle again. We're running the show. And this looks even more stupid than it's ever looked. And she doesn't know it. It's like when somebody, if somebody were to show up wearing a tie-dyed shirt, a ponytail, and doing this, you would say, what? You're an anachronism. You're in the wrong time, the wrong place. No, nobody gets this. Nobody digs this. You're not, that's what this is. This weird kind of phony baloney, virtue signaling lefty white dude who says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to feel the pain of racism. And what does she do? Who's going to clean our toilets and work in our poultry farms? That killed me. And what the president should do is simply this. I want you to do something, and I want you to call somebody in, maybe me, and say, I want you to find out who this Mariann, Edgar, Budde, Edgar Buchanan, Uncle Joe, Luke moving kind of slow, maybe Edgar Winter, Edgar Casey. And I want you to go out and I want you to find how we can destroy her. Is there anything that we can do? A bill, some type of an expenditure, some oversight, some committee, some omnibus. Is there anything that we can do to get this troll shit can to make sure she understands it came from us? Because if she doesn't understand it, and to let people know we mean business. You understand this? This is the most important thing in the world. This is the most important thing in the world. And we got to go out and we got to show people this. We have to show people we mean business. And we also have to sit back and not forget it. There has to be somebody who says, I'm not going to forget this. And this woman, as she packs her bags and sent, I want somebody to say, you probably thought this was a good idea, Mariann, didn't you? You probably thought this was a good idea. You probably, in your own crazy mind, you probably thought, you know what? I'm going to make something of myself. My name is forever going to ring triumphant. I'm going to be on The View. She didn't even realize this. They said, she probably calls over, hey, guess what? Your mom's going to be on The View. That's great. Little does she know The View is radioactive. Joy Behar is radioactive. Where's Sunny Hostin now that her husband is looking at one of the biggest civil RICO cases ever? See, they don't get it. They don't understand it. And wait until wait until you see people being picked up and taken and picked up. I don't care how you do it. You can't go to someone's country, break in, set up shop and say, look, I'm here cleaning your shit, so you're going to let me go, and I'm a queer, and I'm a trans, whatever the hell it is. I don't even know. Trump never mentioned that. That doesn't matter. Nobody cares about that. I don't even know what that means. And this is the thing. She's got to feel it. Because if she doesn't feel it, it doesn't make any sense. You've got to fight back. And this is something which really makes the most sense. You've got to fight back. And don't just write things. You've got to make somebody pay. And you've got to make sure that they know she's not there anymore. Somebody write me a bill. Somebody write me, do something and move for cutting, either having them lose their tax exemption. Come on, IRS, do it. Get the IRS, turn the IRS loose on her and her church the way they did it with us. Do it. Spandex says DJT exposed more woke insanity. Or expose it or just highlight it. Just kind of focus it. Call up the IRS and say, can you tell me why this woman at a national prayer, this is supposed to be kind of ecumenical, and I'm catching nothing but a political message. Sometimes politics in churches work. There was a time during the civil rights movement when the black churches were absolutely critical in getting the movement, getting the message out. Sometimes, as you know, in Catholic churches, abortion is an important thing. You have to mention it. Remember, the separation of church and state, the Darien letter or whatever it is not in the Constitution. It's to keep the government out of religion. But it's not in any way to keep the religion out of government. So there's no problem with that. You have to talk about things. But what this was an anti-Trump message. She didn't talk about the issue in general. She said, you're doing this. People are afraid of you. You're going to hurt these people. You're going to harm these people. Gay people, lesbians, trans people are worried somehow that I don't even know. I got the illegal part. Yeah, I got that was pretty obvious. This is ridiculous. But Mr. President, if you don't make her suffer, and I know this is not your nature, we're wasting our time. You've got to follow up and say, guess who? You want to start off with this. Remember that lady, or whatever. Remember that Budde? Remember Mariann, Edgar, Budde? Remember her? Yeah. Did you hear what happened? They shit-canned her. Yeah. They fired her because they made a deal. Somebody said, either you get rid of her and teach her a lesson, or I promise you, there is going to be something along the road that you're going to need, something of your government. Because if you want to play this game, remember, don't play with us. We're serious about this. Turn that Stephen Miller loose. I'm dead serious. And then and then you can go on The View. Call Joy Behar, and they'll give you a job. They won't even know who you are. This is the problem. Did you see what President Trump said about Putin? And he said, look, I don't want to be what did he say? Look, I don't want to be I don't mean any harm, but you got to stop this war. Where do you think the war came from? Did you hear about his HB1 holder that shot and killed a Border Patrol agent during Trump's inauguration? They've been censoring. Loomer has it on X. I'm going to watch her. Laura, bless her heart, Laura. How about the Lake and Riley bill? That passed. A little modified, but still nonetheless. But let me go back to what this thing is. This is the thing which we've got to see payback. Remember how brutal they were to him. Remember how brutal they were to us. Remember this. Let me go back to the Putin thing. You are being told that Vladimir Putin one day woke up and said, I want to reconstitute the Soviet Union again. I want it to come back. And I'm going to start with Ukraine. I want it back. I want to own it. And even though you got to go back and remind people of what happened, about the various plebiscites, the various elections, how people voted, even though people have felt more Russian than, forget it, because Americans don't get that. But anyway, so they have this idea that somehow one day Putin woke up and said, I want that. I want it. Okay? Forgetting the fact that he reached out with Zelensky and said, now listen to me. I'm telling you right now, you, Ukraine, are not going to be a member of NATO. Let me make this clear. This is Putin. Same thing Trump would have said. You are not going to be a member of NATO. They're still not a member of NATO. Nobody wants them in. Okay. But they said, no, we're not going to do that. Okay. You are not going to have NATO missile bases or missile systems or army. You're not going to have it on our border. You're just not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And Mr. President, Mr. Trump, would you do this too? No. Would you allow China to set up missile systems at your border? No. Would you tolerate that? No. Would you fight back? Absolutely. But they make this out to be that this is a war. Mr. Putin, President Putin, please stop this war. You started it. Remember when Zelensky and Putin were going to meet, but Boris Johnson, Bojo, came in and said, oh, no. Because Victoria Nuland and NATO, they said, oh, we're not going to do this. This is fun. This is fun. No, you're not going to do that. Remember that, Mr. President? I do. So when are we going to come clean with this? Why are we pretending this? This is that John Bolton bullshit. This is that Jack Keane. What's his name? From the Institute for the Study of War. And you're going to have Marco Rubio. Oh, dear God. So that's okay. But nobody's screaming and yelling for that one. No, we're still worried about. Now, let me go back to a couple of things. The best story, I'm sorry to say, it's petty. Is it petty? Absolutely. Is it petty? Like you wouldn't believe. Is it mean-spirited? You know it. Absolutely. Well, what was it? It was a story about our friend Gaimala. This is the best story ever. Rumor has it, and I did this. I'm going to give you the link. Please watch it now. It's right here. I'm putting this on the link right there for you. Don't forget to sign up for that newsletter. She decided, I'm going to run. I'm going to run for maybe governor. No, you know what? I don't even want to run. No, I'm going to run. I'm going to run for president in 2028. This is what she's thinking. And one of the things she said, you know where I really screwed up was Doug Emhoff. Doug, that weird guy, Doug, and that weird daughter of his with the hairy armpits, the axillary hirsuteness, who looks like a mistake. Did you see the Trump children, the Trump family, and their gowns and this and that? No, you've got this freak, you got this circus freak, the daughter Emma, who, when she was like in the third grade, Doug knocked up her nanny, I think it was her teacher, all right? And she had a miscarriage. We don't really know the whole story about that. Was it induced? Was it precipitated? I don't know. But. And that's what we did. We had this miscarriage. Isn't that weird? A miscarriage. We had a miscarriage. And then that broke up. And then before that, Doug was in France with some gal. And that she apparently, they were in Cannes. And she was on with 4-inch heels. It was some big to-do, some event. I don't know if he had a snootful, but he apparently was love bombing her. And he said, he was really trying to show her that I'm really the guy. So they're in Cannes. And she decides to go up to some concierge or somebody and say, can we maybe get into this event or some movie event a little earlier or something? And she like puts her arm on him or does something. Doug sees this, goes nuts, and hits her so hard, basically her head spun around. She says she was on 4-inch heels. He knocked the crap out of her. Went nuts, berserk. Like somebody who's ambivalent about the way he treats and feels about women. Somebody who doesn't know how to handle what he believes to be a jurisdictional affront. The same guy who was accused when he worked for this law firm to treat women like crap, to have men, kind of like that Mad Men kind of drinking parties, treat women like crap, refer to them as garbage, just be a real pig. That's Doug. That's the wife guy. Yeah, that's the wife guy. So he apparently is on his own. I think they say he might be moving back to New York. I had mentioned I read somewhere where he was looking at apartments or something. He's wondering, where do I want to move back here without her. She's had enough of this crap. But she actually is thinking. He's thinking about this. So she and Doug are headed for Splitsville. Barry Obama and Michelle are there. She says, I've had it. I don't know what happened. Maybe she just said, I just ran out of real estate or runway or whatever. I'm just not interested in this anymore. So you've got that one there. And you've got this guy walking around this. And the big story is going to be the notion of preemptive pardons. And by the way, if you follow the newsletter and you sign up for it, you'll get this. And by the way, when you get it, make sure you put in your address label, Lionel at your address book, Lionel at lionelmedia.com. Thank you, Big Bobby D. Thank you so much. Bobby D, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so this is something that is the most incredible. And a lot of people have asked the question, what would happen if President Trump had this thing? Let's say he was very concerned about Dana White. And let's assume, I'm just being crazy. Let's just assume that there was some talk about not steroids, but something weird going on. So Trump, on his way out, pardons the UFC. Did I just do it like this? But with my left hand. The UFC. Okay? The entire UFC. Just everybody. Of what? I don't know. You're going to try? Yeah. And then maybe he might say, the NFL, come to think of it, they got some, throw in the NFL too. I'm going to pardon them. All of the male illegal aliens, males, pardon them. All lawyers. Everybody named Goose. Everybody, Goose Gossage, Goose. You would say, you can't do that. Why can't I do that? Biden did it. We got to get to the bottom of that. We also have to understand the horrors of January 6th. You don't understand it. You don't get it because we've never really explained it to you. It's the most horrible thing anybody has ever imagined. What they've done to these people is beyond anything that I can even put into words. So we're going to get to the bottom of that. Now, let me also tell you a couple of things. First, immediately following this at 8:30, 8:30, or 8:30. By the way, spandex here, ladies and gentlemen, says military, central banks, churches are competing to see who can launder the most cash. I think you've got something there, my friend. I think you've got something. So immediately after 8:30, we're going to have the most important and critical thing going on. And that is Mrs. L's Lynn's Warriors. And I want you to be a part of it. Okay? You got it? Okay. Very important. Number 2, I want you to make sure you are subscribed to Lynn's Warriors. Number 3, if you think that you are subscribed to the newsletter or the mail or whatever you want to call it, make sure you are, because I had somebody who said, I'm not getting your letter, your newsletter. And I said, you're unsubscribed. What? This happens all the time. And make sure you are definitely definitely subscribe to Lionel Nation, what you're doing right now. So let me tell you, to Spandex, I thank you. To Bob D, JTE, DS, I want to thank you. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think you mean well, and we appreciate your kindness. Linda Hazlitt, Judas Goat Barbecue, Therese Pollard, ladies and gentlemen, Nelson A, Wicked Felina, who, by the way, is dangerous, and we like that. Anybody named Wicked in their name is okay in my book. Johnny Mazaspaz, David Wade, ladies and gentlemen, Conrad, give it up for Conrad, and K2Z, thank you. So remember one thing, be very happy about one thing, and that is simply this. We are so winning this thing, it is not even remotely funny. Not even remotely funny. What you are seeing right now, a year ago would be like, well, whatever. Now, Edgar, Casey, Budde, or whatever her name is, we're furious. And for her to go on The View shows you this complete and total disconnect. All right, dear friends, have a great, right now it's about 20 degrees. It was snowing in Louisiana, snowing in the panhandle of Florida. You mean to tell me you don't believe in weather modification? Do you think this is normal? Do you? Warren Ocasio-Cortez, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Warren. This is the most incredible thing anybody's ever seen. They got these poor bastards in New Orleans, and they're saying, how come you weren't prepared? He says, because it doesn't snow here. And there you go with that. All right, dear friends, we love you. Have a great and a glorious day. Don't forget, subscribe to Lionel Nation. Make sure you right now and Lynn's Warriors. And we're going to go at 8:30 to follow her for her live portrayal. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious night. Until tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. 9 a.m. Eastern time. Remember this. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.